Before we dive into this story, drop a comment below and tell us what city you're watching from. And when we reach the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Now, let's begin. The invitation card felt heavier than it should. Maya Rodriguez turned it over in her hands for the third time that evening, reading the gold-embossed letters that seemed to mock her with their elegance. Mr. Harrison Steele requests the pleasure of your company at the Grand Meridian Hotel, Saturday evening. Black tie. Her roommate Sophia had tossed it onto the kitchen counter 3 days ago with a dramatic sigh. I can't go. That photography gig in Milan came through, the one I've been waiting for all year. You have to go in my place. Maya had laughed, thinking it was a joke. Me? Sophia, I'm a graphic designer who works in pajamas. I don't do black tie. But Sophia had been serious, her green eyes pleading. Please, Maya. My family arranged this whole thing. If no one shows up, my mother will have a meltdown, and I'll never hear the end of it. Just make an appearance, smile, drink some champagne, and leave. No one will even notice. Now, standing before the full-length mirror in Sophia's emerald green silk gown, Maya wasn't so sure about that last part. The dress fit perfectly, which was suspicious since Sophia was 2 inches taller. The fabric clung to curves Maya usually hid under oversized sweaters, and the slit up the side revealed more leg than she'd shown since that ill-advised beach vacation in college. Her dark hair, usually pulled into a messy bun, cascaded in loose waves down her back, courtesy of 2 hours with a curling iron and a YouTube tutorial. I look like someone else, Maya whispered to her reflection. That's the point, Sophia called from the doorway, already dressed in travel clothes, camera bag slung over her shoulder. You're not Maya Rodriguez tonight. You're Sophia Lynn, disappointing daughter attending yet another family obligation. Maya turned, panic rising. What if someone asks me questions? What if they know you? They won't. Sophia waved dismissively. It's just a networking thing my mother set up. Rich people drinking expensive wine and pretending to care about art galleries or whatever. Stay an hour, then ghost. You've got this. Before Maya could protest further, Sophia was gone, the apartment door clicking shut with an air of finality. Maya looked back at the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked confident, sophisticated. Nothing like the girl who spent Friday nights eating takeout and binge-watching design tutorials. She grabbed the small clutch purse Sophia had left, checked for the invitation one more time, and headed for the door. If she was doing this, she was going to commit to the role. The Grand Meridian Hotel rose before her like a monument to wealth she'd only seen in magazines. Marble columns flanked the entrance, where a red carpet stretched beneath a crystal canopy. Valets in crisp uniforms opened car doors for guests, who emerged in gowns that probably cost more than Maya's rent. She paid the taxi driver, took a deep breath, and stepped onto that red carpet, heels clicking with each uncertain step. Inside, the ballroom was a vision of old-world glamour. 3 massive chandeliers cast golden light across walls draped in cream silk. Round tables circled a polished dance floor where a string quartet played something classical and soothing. Waiters glided between clusters of guests, offering champagne and flutes that caught the light like liquid stars. Maya accepted a glass, more for something to hold than any desire to drink. She scanned the room, looking for a quiet corner where she could observe without being observed. That's when she felt it, a gaze so intense it was almost physical. She turned, and her eyes met his across the crowded room. He stood near the bar, tall and imposing in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and aristocratic lines. But it was his eyes that held her, dark, penetrating, and fixed on her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Surprise? Recognition? Before she could look away, he was moving toward her, cutting through the crowd with the easy confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Maya's first instinct was to run, but her feet stayed rooted to the marble floor. "Sophia," he said when he reached her, his voice a low rumble that sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. "You came." Maya's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He thought she was Sophia. Of course he did. She was wearing Sophia's dress, carrying Sophia's invitation. This was exactly what was supposed to happen. So why did it feel like standing at the edge of a cliff? "I wasn't sure you would," he continued, something flickering across his features. "Your mother said you'd been reluctant." Maya swallowed hard, finding her voice. Yes. Well, here I am." His eyes swept over her, and Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks. "When your mother described you, she failed to mention how," he paused, searching for a word. "Radiant you are in green. It's your color." The compliment caught her off guard. She took a sip of champagne to buy time, her mind racing. Who was this man? Why did Sophia's mother tell him about her? And why was he looking at Maya like she was the only person in the room? "I should introduce myself properly," he said, extending his hand. "Harrison Steele." Maya's hand moved automatically to meet his, and the moment their palms touched, electricity shot up her arm. His grip was firm, warm, and he held on just a fraction longer than necessary. She started, then caught herself. "Sophia Lynn!" The lie tasted bitter, but what choice did she have? Blurting out the truth now would create exactly the scene Sophia had begged her to avoid. Harrison's mouth curved into a slight smile. "I know who you are. Your mother has told me quite a bit about you. Though I'm discovering her, descriptions were incomplete." He gestured toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. "Would you join me?" "There are some things we should discuss." Maya nodded, unable to trust her voice. As he guided her through the crowd, his hand resting lightly on the small of her back, she realized with growing dread that this wasn't just a random encounter. This was planned. Whatever arrangement Sophia's mother had made, Harrison Steele was very much a part of it. They settled at a small table near tall windows, overlooking the city's glittering skyline. Harrison signaled a waiter, who appeared instantly with fresh champagne and a tray of delicate hors d'oeuvres. "I appreciate you coming tonight," Harrison began, his dark eyes studying her face. "I know this situation is unconventional." "Situation?" Maya echoed, playing for information. He tilted his head slightly. "Your mother didn't explain." Maya scrambled. "She mentioned a gathering. Networking." His expression shifted, something between amusement and disbelief crossing his features. "Is that what she called it?" Maya's stomach dropped. "What did you call it?" Harrison leaned back, one hand absently turning his champagne flute. "Sophia, our families have known each other for 20 years. Our mothers went to university together. When my father died last year and left me the company, certain expectations arose." Maya's throat went dry. "Expectations. The board wants stability. They want to see me settled, focused, not the playboy bachelor the tabloids like to paint. Your mother suggested that perhaps we might consider each other." Oh God, this wasn't a networking event. This was a setup, an arranged marriage audition. Maya's hand trembled as she set down her glass. "You're saying," she could barely form the words. "My mother arranged for us to meet as potential candidates?" Harrison's jaw tightened. I realize how archaic that sounds. If it helps, I was skeptical too. But then I saw you walk in tonight, and he met her eyes, and I thought perhaps our mothers aren't completely insane. Maya's mind spun. She should tell him the truth right now. Confess that she wasn't Sophia, that this was all a horrible mistake. But the words stuck in her throat, blocked by the way he was looking at her, like she was someone worth seeing. No one had looked at Maya Rodriguez that way well, ever. Maya stood abruptly, her chair scraping against marble. I need some air. She didn't wait for his response, just turned and walked as quickly as her heels allowed toward the terrace doors. Outside, the cool night air hit her like a slap, clearing some of the champagne fog from her brain. She gripped the stone balustrade, staring at the city lights below. What had she gotten herself into? Sophia hadn't mentioned any of this, just a simple appearance at a party. But this was so much bigger, so much more complicated. Are you all right? Harrison's voice came from behind her, quiet with concern. Maya didn't turn around. I'm sorry. This is a lot to process. I understand. His footsteps approached until he stood beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. If it matters, I'm processing too. Despite her panic, Maya almost laughed. You seem pretty comfortable with all this. Do I? He turned to face her, and in the moonlight, his expression was surprisingly vulnerable. Sophia, my entire life has been about expectations. My father groomed me to take over the company from the time I could walk. I went to the right schools, made the right connections, said the right things. But he paused. I've never done anything just because I wanted to, not because it was expected, or required, or strategic. Until now. Maya's breath caught. What do you mean? He stepped closer, his voice dropping. When I saw you tonight, for the first time in my life, I wanted something just because. Not because our mothers arranged it, or because it makes good business sense, but because when you walked into that ballroom, every calculated plan in my head went silent. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. He didn't even know her real name, and yet his words struck something deep inside her, something that had been waiting to be seen, to be chosen, to matter. Harrison, she whispered, I have to tell you something. He moved closer still, his hand coming up to gently brush a strand of hair from her face. Whatever it is, it can wait. Because right now, all I want to know is, are you feeling even a fraction of what I'm feeling? She should say no. She should step back, confess everything, and run from this beautiful disaster before it got worse. But his eyes held hers, and in them, she saw the same electric connection that had rooted her to the floor when their gazes first met across the ballroom. Yes, she breathed, and she meant it. His smile was slow, transforming his severe features into something almost boyish. Then that's enough for now. The rest, we'll figure out together. He offered his arm. Shall we go back inside? I believe they're about to serve dinner, and it would be rude to miss it after our mothers went to such trouble. Maya hesitated for just a moment, then slipped her hand through his arm, feeling the solid warmth of him beneath the expensive fabric. She was committed now, for better or worse. Just for tonight, she told herself. Tomorrow she'd fix this mess. Tonight, she'd be Sophia Lynn, the woman who made Harrison Steele forget every calculated plan he'd ever made. Dinner was an elaborate affair. 7 courses served on china so delicate, Maya was afraid to breathe too hard near it. She'd been seated at Harrison's table, along with several business associates and their spouses, who regarded her with thinly veiled curiosity. Harrison's companion, a silver-haired man introduced as Jonathan Reed, leaned across the table with a knowing smile. So you're the mysterious Sophia we've heard whispers about. Harrison rarely brings anyone to these functions. Maya nearly choked on her wine. She felt Harrison's hand find hers under the table, a gentle squeeze of reassurance. Sophia isn't mysterious, Harrison said smoothly, simply discerning about which events warrant her time. I'm fortunate she deemed this one worthy. The warmth in his voice made something flutter in Maya's chest. She glanced at him, and he met her gaze with an expression that was dangerously close to genuine affection. "How did you two meet?" a woman in diamonds asked, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer. "Our mothers," Harrison and Maya said simultaneously, then laughed. "It's a long story," Maya added quickly. "The kind best told over drinks rather than formal dinners." "Translation," Harrison Stage whispered to the table. "It involves some embarrassing moments she'd rather not share with strangers." The table laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. Maya found herself relaxing, drawn into easy conversation about art, travel, and the challenges of balancing tradition with modern sensibilities. Harrison was an attentive presence beside her, including her in business discussions, without making her feel like an accessory, laughing at her jokes, refilling her water glass before she had to ask. It felt natural, like they'd done this dozens of times before. "You're good at this," Maya murmured, during a lull when the others were distracted by the arrival of dessert. "At what?" "Playing the part." Harrison's expression turned serious. "I'm not playing." "Neither am I," she realized with a jolt. Somewhere between the first course and now, she'd stopped pretending to be Sophia and started just being. Talking about her actual design work when asked about her career, sharing her real opinions about the art adorning the walls, laughing her genuine laugh rather than some imagined version of what Sophia might do. Harrison had this effect on her, made her forget to be anyone but herself. After dinner, the quartet shifted to something more upbeat, and couples moved onto the dance floor. Harrison stood, offering his hand. "Dance with me." It wasn't really a question, but Maya appreciated that he made it sound like one. "I should warn you," she said as he led her to the floor. "I'm not much of a dancer. I'll lead. Just follow." His arms slid around her waist, drawing her close as his other hand clasped hers. The first few steps were awkward, as Maya tried to remember which foot went where. But Harrison was patient, his movements smooth and easy to follow. Gradually, she stopped thinking and just moved with him. "Where did you learn to dance like this?" she asked, looking up at him. "Mandatory lessons at boarding school. My mother insisted every gentleman should know how to properly lead a waltz." "Did she also insist you look at your partners like that?" "Like what?" "Like they're the only person in the world." His dark eyes softened. "That part's not from lessons. That's all you." The air between them seemed to thicken. Other couples swirled around. Them. But Maya barely noticed. Her entire focus had narrowed to the man holding her, to the warmth of his hand at her waist, the solid strength of his shoulder beneath her palm, the way he smelled like expensive cologne, and something uniquely him. "Sophia," he began, then stopped. "Tell me something real. Something your mother wouldn't have mentioned in her carefully curated description." Maya's heart stuttered. This was dangerous territory, but she found herself wanting to answer honestly, to give him something true, even if she couldn't give him her real name. She swallowed. "I'm afraid most of the time. Afraid of not being good enough, smart enough, successful enough. I work twice as hard as everyone around me because I'm terrified that one day someone will figure out I'm just faking it, that I don't actually belong in rooms like this." The confession spilled out before she could stop it, raw and vulnerable. Harrison's arms tightened around her almost imperceptibly. "That's the most honest thing anyone said to me in years. You do belong, Sophia. You belong anywhere you choose to be." Tears pricked Maya's eyes. She blinked them back, managing a shaky laugh. "That's a very nice thing to say to someone you just met." "We didn't just meet," he said quietly. "I feel like I've been waiting to meet you for a very long time." Before Maya could respond, The music shifted to something slower, more intimate. Harrison pulled her closer until barely any space remained between them. Her cheek rested against his chest, and she could hear his heartbeat, strong and steady. "This is crazy," she whispered, "completely insane." He hummed in agreement, his breath stirring her hair. "Should we stop?" "We should," Maya said, but she didn't pull away. Neither did he. They stayed like that, swaying together long after the song ended and another began. Other couples glanced at them, some with knowing smiles, others with envy. Maya closed her eyes and let herself pretend, just for this moment, that this was real, that she was really the woman Harrison thought her to be, that there would be a tomorrow for them and not just the wreckage of a lie. Eventually, inevitably, the evening began to wind down. Guests started making their departures, calling for cars, exchanging final pleasantries. Harrison kept Maya close as they navigated the social niceties, his hand possessive at the small of her back. "Can I take you home?" he asked, as they retrieved her coat from the check. Maya hesitated. Taking this any further felt dangerous, like standing at the edge of a cliff and leaning forward to see how far the drop went. She should say no, should end this now before it became impossible to untangle. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was yes. The drive was quiet, the city lights streaming past the windows of Harrison's sleek car. Maya gave the driver Sophia's address, the luxury apartment in the high-rise downtown that was nothing like Maya's modest place across town. "I had a good time, tonight," Harrison said, breaking the silence. "Better than good, actually." "Me too," Maya admitted. "I wasn't expecting," she gestured vaguely, "any of this." Neither was I. He reached across the seat, his fingers finding hers, threading through them with easy intimacy. "I know this started as our mother's idea, but I'd like to see you again. On our terms this time, not theirs." Maya's throat tightened. She should tell him the truth. Every moment she stayed silent made it worse. But the words wouldn't come, stuck behind the fear of watching his expression change from warmth to disgust when he realized she'd been deceiving him all night. The car pulled up to Sophia's building, and Maya's time ran out. "I'd like that," she heard herself say. "Good." Harrison lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that sent heat racing up her arm. "I'll call you tomorrow." He walked her to the entrance, ever the gentleman. At the door, Maya turned back, memorizing his face in the golden light from the lobby. Tonight had been perfect and impossible and completely unsustainable, but she would carry it with her forever. "Good night, Harrison." "Good night, Sophia." She almost corrected him. Almost. Then the moment passed, and she was through the door, watching through the glass as he returned to his car. The vehicle pulled away, taillights disappearing into the night. Maya sagged against the wall, her knees suddenly weak. What had she done? Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I can't stop thinking about you." "Sweet dreams, Sophia." Maya stared at the message, her heart racing and breaking simultaneously. She was so screwed. Tomorrow, she'd fix this. Tomorrow, she'd tell Sophia everything and figure out how to confess to Harrison. Tomorrow, she'd deal with the consequences. But tonight, just for tonight, she let herself hold on to the memory of being someone worth falling for. Someone special enough to make a man like Harrison Steele forget every rule he'd ever followed. She typed back quickly before she could overthink it. Sweet dreams. Then she deleted the message, retyped it, deleted it again. Finally, she settled on, "Tonight was magical. Thank you for making me feel like I belonged." The response came almost immediately. "You did belong. With me." Maya pressed the phone to her chest, closing her eyes against the tears threatening to fall. In another life, maybe that could have been true. In another life, where she was really Sophia Lynn, where she had the right clothes, and the right background, and the right everything, maybe she and Harrison could have had something real. But this wasn't another life. This was hers, and she'd just woven a web of lies that would inevitably collapse. The only question now was how much damage it would cause when it did. Maya didn't sleep. She spent the entire night pacing her small apartment, phone clutched in her hand, waiting for the texts from Harrison that kept coming. Small things, observations about the evening, questions about her favorite music, her thoughts on a painting they'd discussed. Each message was another brick in the wall of deception she was building, and she couldn't seem to stop herself from responding. By the time dawn broke, she'd convinced herself she had to come clean immediately. She called Sophia, who answered groggily from Milan. "Do you have any idea what time it is here?" "Your mother set you up on an arranged marriage date," Maya blurted, "with Harrison Steele, the millionaire. And I went pretending to be you, and now he thinks. Silence. Then, oh shit, yeah, oh shit. Tell me everything." Maya recounted the whole evening, her words tumbling out in a rush. When she finished, Sophia let out a low whistle. "So let me get this straight. Harrison Steele, the Harrison Steele, thinks you're me, and he's completely fallen for you. It's not funny, Sophia. I don't know what to do." Okay. Sophia's voice turned serious. "Here's what you do. You call him right now and explain. Tell him you're my roommate. I had an emergency. You were doing me a favor. And there was a misunderstanding. Apologize profusely, and let me deal with my mother's wrath." Maya bit her lip. "He's going to hate me." "Probably," Sophia agreed cheerfully. "But better a quick Band-Aid than letting this fester." "Right. Quick Band-Aid." Maya stared at her phone after they hung up. She pulled up Harrison's number, her thumb hovering over the call button. Then a text appeared. "Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept better than I did. I kept replaying the way you looked in that green dress. I'd very much like to see you again today. Are you free for lunch?" Maya's resolve crumbled. She couldn't do it over text, and a phone call felt cowardly. She needed to tell him face to face, to at least give him that much respect, which meant seeing him one more time. "I'm free," she typed back. "Where should I meet you?" His response included an address to a restaurant she'd never heard of, probably because it was the kind of place that didn't bother with websites when their clientele knew them by reputation alone. Noon? Perfect. Now Maya had 4 hours to figure out how to destroy the best thing that had ever happened to her. She dressed carefully, not in Sophia's borrowed finery, but in her own clothes, a simple navy dress and practical flats. She wore her hair the way she normally did, loose but unstyled, and minimal makeup. This was who she really was, and Harrison needed to see it before she confessed. The restaurant was tucked into a quiet street in the old quarter, its exterior understated, but its interior breathtaking. Exposed brick walls, fresh flowers on every table, soft jazz playing in the background. Harrison was already there, rising from a corner booth as Maya approached. He'd traded the tuxedo for dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow, he looked even better. "You look different," he said, his eyes tracking over her appearance. "Not bad. Different. Beautiful different." Maya's heart clenched. "Stop being perfect," she wanted to say. "You're making this so much harder." They ordered, though Maya barely tasted the food when it arrived. She was too busy trying to find the right words, the right moment, the right way to break Harrison's trust without completely shattering it. "You're quiet today," Harrison observed, reaching across the table to cover her hand with his. "Is everything all right?" "I need to tell you something," Maya said. Her voice came out steady despite the panic churning in her stomach. "That sounds ominous. Should I be worried?" "Yes," she said simply. You should. Harrison's expression shifted, his easy smile fading into something more guarded. All right. I'm listening. Maya took a deep breath. Last night, when you met me at the party, you thought, her voice cracked. You thought I was someone I'm not. His brow furrowed. I don't understand. My name isn't Sophia Lynn, Maya said in a rush. It's Maya Rodriguez. I'm Sophia's roommate. She had an emergency, a photography job in Milan, and she asked me to go to the party in her place. I didn't know about the arrangement your family's made. I didn't know you'd be there expecting to meet her. When you approached me, I panicked, and I let you believe I was her. The silence that followed was suffocating. Harrison's face went carefully blank, the warmth draining from his eyes like water from a broken vessel. You lied to me, he said flatly. About everything? Yes. No. Maya stumbled over her words. I mean, everything I told you about myself was true. My work, my fears, the things I said on the dance floor, that was all real. Just not my name. Just not who I actually am. Just not. Harrison's voice was cold enough to frost the air between them. Just not the woman I thought I was falling for. Maya's eyes stung. I'm sorry. I should have told you immediately, but… She what? What possible excuse could justify this? Harrison's jaw was tight, his hands clenched on the table. I opened up to you. I told you things I don't tell anyone. I felt… He cut himself off, shaking his head. It doesn't matter what I felt because it was all based on a lie. It wasn't a lie, Maya insisted desperately. Everything I felt was real, Harrison. The connection between us, that was real. Was it? His laugh was sharp and bitter. Because from where I'm sitting, you're just another person who saw Harrison steal the Millionaire and decided to play games. That's not fair. Fair? Harrison leaned forward, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You want to talk about fair? I have spent my entire life being used by people who want access to my money, my connections, my name. Do you have any idea how rare it is for someone to look at me and see just… me? And for 5 seconds, 5 goddamn seconds, I thought I'd found that with you. But it was just another con, another lie. It wasn't. Maya's voice broke. I didn't know who you were at first. I didn't care about your money. I saw you, and I felt something. And then everything spiraled too fast, and I didn't know how to stop it without hurting you. So your solution was to hurt me later instead? How thoughtful. The sarcasm cut deeper than anger would have. Maya blinked back tears. I know I screwed up. I know there's probably nothing I can say to fix this. But you deserve to know that what happened between us, what I felt, that was the most real thing I've experienced in my entire life. Harrison stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his wallet, dropped several bills on the table far more than the meal cost, and stood. I don't know if you're telling the truth or if this is just another layer of deception. Honestly, I don't think I want to know. His eyes, those dark eyes that had looked at her with such warmth, were now empty. Enjoy your lunch, Miss Rodriguez. He turned and walked out, leaving Maya alone in the beautiful restaurant with tears streaming down her face and a plate of food she couldn't possibly swallow. She'd known it would hurt. She'd prepared herself for his anger, his disgust. But nothing could have prepared her for the look of betrayal in his eyes, the way he'd shut down so completely, like a door slamming in her face. Maya sat there for a long time, staring at the empty seat across from her. She'd done the right thing, telling him the truth. She'd fixed the mistake. So why did it feel like she'd just made the biggest error of her life? When she finally left, pressing money into the confused hostess's hand, the city outside seemed grayer, colder. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. How did it go? Maya stared at the message, then typed, "He hates me." Good. That's what you wanted, right? To come clean? Maya didn't respond. What she wanted and what she'd gotten were two very different things. What she wanted was impossible. A fantasy where she could be both honest and have Harrison look at her the way he had on the dance floor. What she'd gotten was reality, harsh and unforgiving. She went home, changed into pajamas, and crawled into bed even though it was barely afternoon. Her phone sat silent on the nightstand. No texts from Harrison, no calls. She told herself that was good, that a clean break was better. But her heart didn't agree. That night, unable to sleep again, Maya opened her laptop and did what she should have done before any of this started. She searched for information about Harrison Steel. What she found surprised her. Yes, he was a millionaire, CEO of Steel Industries, a company his father had built from nothing. But he was also a philanthropist who donated millions to children's hospitals, who'd established scholarships for underprivileged students, who'd spoken out against corrupt business practices, even when it cost him contracts. He wasn't just rich. He was good. Truly good. And she'd lied to him. Maya closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across the city, Harrison was probably doing the same, wondering how he'd been so thoroughly deceived. The thought made her chest ache. She'd had one perfect night with an extraordinary man, and she'd destroyed it with the best intentions and the worst execution. Now, all she could do was live with the consequences and try to remember what it felt like when Harrison Steel looked at her like she mattered. 3 days passed in a gray blur. Maya threw herself into work, accepting every freelance project that came her way, anything to keep her mind occupied. But late at night, when exhaustion finally pulled her under, she dreamed of dancing in a ballroom, of dark eyes that saw through all her defenses, of a voice whispering that she belonged. On the 4th day, Sophia came home from Milan. She found Maya on the couch, surrounded by sketches and empty coffee cups, looking like she hadn't slept in a week, because she hadn't. "Oh, honey," Sophia said, dropping her bags and coming to sit beside her. "You look terrible." "Thanks," Maya muttered. "Your honesty is always refreshing." "I talked to my mother," Sophia said carefully. She's not happy. But she understands it was a mix-up. Harrison hasn't told anyone the details, just that he and I, quote, weren't compatible. He's protecting you." Maya's throat tightened. Of course he is. Because he's perfect, even when I don't deserve it. Sophia squeezed her hand. "For what it's worth, I think you should try talking to him again. Give him time to cool down, then explain." Maya shook her head. "He made it clear he doesn't want to see me. I need to respect that." "What if he changes his mind?" "He won't." Maya said it with certainty, even though a small, pathetic part of her hoped she was wrong. She forced herself back to some semblance of normal life, went to her regular coffee shop, attended a design meetup, picked up groceries. The city moved around her, indifferent to her heartbreak. Then, exactly 1 week after the lunch where everything imploded, Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. Her heart leapt stupidly before she could stop it, but the voice on the other end wasn't Harrison's. "Miss Rodriguez? This is Patricia Hoffman, Mr. Steele's executive assistant. He'd like to see you." The request was framed politely, but Maya heard the steel beneath it. This wasn't optional. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., at Steel Industries headquarters." She was given an address and a floor number. Then the line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. Why would Harrison want to see her? To yell at her in private? To make sure she understood the full extent of her deception? Or, that dangerous hope whispered, to give her a second chance? She didn't let herself believe that last option. The next morning, Maya dressed in her most professional outfit, a charcoal blazer and matching skirt she'd bought for job interviews, and never had occasion to wear. She pulled her hair into a neat bun and wore minimal jewelry. If Harrison wanted to meet her as himself, CEO and millionaire, then she'd meet him as herself too, hard-working designer with nothing to hide. Steel Industries occupied the top 15 floors of a downtown skyscraper, all glass and modern architecture that screamed success. The lobby was intimidating, with its polished marble floors and security desk that looked like something from a sci-fi movie. Maya gave her name to the guard, who checked his tablet and nodded, directing her to a specific elevator. "You're expected on the 45th floor." The elevator ride felt like it lasted hours. Maya watched the numbers climb, her stomach dropping with each ding. She practiced what she'd say. "I'm sorry for deceiving you. Thank you for being discreet. I understand why you hate me." None of it sounded right. The doors opened directly into a reception area that was somehow both modern and warm. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and expensive art adorned the walls. A woman in a crisp suit, Patricia, presumably, gestured toward a set of double doors. "He's waiting for you." Maya's hands trembled as she pushed open the doors. Harrison's office was massive, dominated by a huge desk and that same wall of windows. But Maya barely noticed the space because Harrison himself stood by the window, his back to her, shoulders tense. The door clicked shut behind her, and he turned. He looked tired, she realized. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his usual immaculate appearance was slightly rumpled, tie loosened, top button undone. They stared at each other across the expanse of expensive carpet. Finally, Harrison spoke. "Thank you for coming." His voice was formal, distant. "Of course." Maya clasped her hands in front of her to keep them from shaking. "You wanted to see me?" "I've spent the last week being angry," he said abruptly. "Furious, actually. I don't get lied to often, and when I do, there are usually consequences." Maya swallowed hard. "I understand. But then I kept thinking about that night, about the things you said, the way you looked when we danced, and I realized something." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "You weren't lying about everything. The fear you talked about, the feeling of not belonging, that was real, wasn't it?" "Yes," Maya whispered. "That was real." "So I did some research." Harrison stopped a few feet away, close enough that Maya had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "I looked into Maya Rodriguez, graphic designer. You're talented, by the way. Your portfolio is impressive. You graduated top of your class, despite working 3 jobs to pay tuition. You volunteer at a youth center teaching kids digital art. You donate to animal shelters, even though you can barely afford your rent." He paused. "You're not some con artist. You're just a good person who made a bad decision." Tears pricked Maya's eyes. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." "I know." Harrison's voice softened slightly. "I believe you. That's why I asked you here. Not to punish you, but because I need to understand. Why didn't you tell me the truth on the terrace, or in the car, or at any point during that night?" Maya's breath hitched. "Because for one night, I got to be someone else. Someone confident and sophisticated, and worthy of a man like you. And it was intoxicating, and stupid, and selfish. But I couldn't make myself stop. I couldn't make myself give up the way you looked at me." Harrison closed his eyes briefly. "Do you have any idea what those words do to me? Because they make me want to forgive you, and I'm not sure that's wise." "Please," Maya took a step forward. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you could just try to understand that everything I felt was real. The connection between us, that wasn't fake. That was more real than anything I've ever experienced. When I'm Maya Rodriguez, people see a struggling artist who's good enough, but nothing special. But when you looked at me, even thinking I was someone else, you saw something worth cherishing." And she wiped at her eyes. I've never felt that before. Harrison's jaw worked. So what happens now? What do you want to happen? Tell me the truth, Maya. What do you want? You, she said, her voice breaking. I want you to look at me the way you did on the dance floor, but this time knowing exactly who I am. I want the chance to prove that Maya Rodriguez is worth what you felt for Sophia Lynn. I want impossibilities, because I know I burned that bridge. Silence stretched between them. Then Harrison moved, closing the distance in 2 long strides. His hands came up to cup her face, and before Maya could process what was happening, his lips were on hers. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined, not gentle or tentative, but fierce and desperate, and full of a week's worth of frustration and longing. Maya gasped against his mouth, and Harrison deepened the kiss, one hand sliding into her hair while the other pressed against the small of her back, pulling her flush against him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. I'm probably making a huge mistake, he murmured. But I can't seem to care. I've tried to forget you, and it's not working. You've ruined me for anyone else, Maya Rodriguez. Maya laughed through her tears. Is that my name? It sounds right when you say it. Good, because I plan to say it a lot. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. But this time, we do this right. No more lies, no more pretending, just you and me figuring this out. I can do that, Maya promised. I want to do that. Harrison smiled, the expression transforming his face from severe to breathtaking. Then let's start over. He held out his hand formally. Harrison Steele, workaholic CEO with control issues and an inconvenient attraction to women who infiltrate social events under false pretenses. Maya took his hand, her own smile breaking through. Maya Rodriguez, struggling artist with anxiety and an inconvenient attraction to men who should absolutely know better. Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you, too. He tugged her closer again. Now, about that kiss. I feel like we should establish whether that was a one-time thing or... It definitely wasn't a one-time thing, Maya said, rising on her toes to close the distance. Excellent, Harrison murmured against her lips, because I have about 7 days' worth of pent-up feelings to work through. Show me, Maya challenged, and he did. This time, when they came up for air, Maya felt like she could finally breathe properly for the first time in a week. This was real. She and Harrison. No pretense, no borrowed dress. Just 2 people who'd found something unexpected and refused to let go. Starting now, Harrison said, his voice slightly rough. We date properly. I take you to dinner. You tell me terrible jokes. I pretend not to find them charming. They're not terrible jokes, Maya protested. They're sophisticated humor. You haven't heard any of my jokes yet. I heard you tell that story about the art gallery incident at dinner. The one about mistaking the installation for trash. Harrison's lips twitched. That was a terrible joke. It got a laugh from the entire table. Pity laughs. Maya punched his shoulder lightly, and he caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. I'm glad you're here, he said simply. I'm glad you gave me another chance. I'm glad you took it, Harrison replied. Now, I believe I owe you a proper first date. One where I actually know your real name. Maya smiled. When? Tonight? Tomorrow? As soon as possible before I convince myself this is all a dream? Tonight, Maya agreed. But this time I wear my own dress. Deal. Though for the record, he added, his eyes warm, you'd look beautiful in anything. Or nothing, he added with a wicked grin that made Maya blush. Harrison Steele. I thought you said we were doing this properly. We are. But proper doesn't mean I can't appreciate what I'm working toward. Maya shook her head, but she was smiling. You're impossible. and you're stuck with me now. So who's really winning here?" Maya looked at him, at the way he was looking at her, with heat and affection, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name yet. "I think we both are," she said softly. Harrison's answer was another kiss, sweet and promising. And for the first time since that night in the borrowed dress, Maya let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, fairy tales could happen to girls like her. Their first official date was nothing like the elaborate party where they'd met. Harrison picked Maya up from her modest apartment, raising an eyebrow at the peeling paint in the hallway, but saying nothing. He wore jeans, actual jeans, and a dark Henley that made him look less like a CEO and more like a dangerously attractive man who could absolutely ruin her life in the best way. "You're staring," he observed, leaning against her doorframe. "You're wearing jeans." "I didn't think millionaires knew what jeans were." Harrison's mouth quirked. "I'm full of surprises." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere without champagne towers or string quartets." His eyes glinted with humor. "I thought we'd try acting like normal people on a normal date." Maya grabbed her jacket. "Define normal." "You'll see." He drove them to a food truck festival in the warehouse district, the kind of place Maya would have suggested if she'd thought Harrison would ever agree. They wandered between trucks, offering everything from Korean tacos to gourmet grilled cheese, paper plates in hand, eating standing up like college students. "This is normal?" Maya asked around a bite of the best damn taco she'd ever tasted. Harrison shrugged, stealing a piece of her taco with shameless audacity. "More normal than anything I usually do. The women I've dated in the past expected 5-star restaurants and wine lists they couldn't pronounce." Maya bumped his shoulder. "And now you're slumming it with a girl who thinks a wine box is perfectly acceptable dinner pairing." "A wine box is never acceptable," Harrison said with mock severity. "But you're forgiven because you have other redeeming qualities." "Such as?" "You make me laugh. You challenge me." And his voice dropped. "You look at me like I'm just a man, not a bank account." Maya's heart squeezed. "That's because you are just a man, an infuriatingly perfectionist, occasionally arrogant man, but still just a man." "See? Redeeming qualities." They spent hours wandering the festival, sharing bites of different foods, arguing playfully over whether sweet or savory was superior, watching street performers, and generally acting like every other couple around them. It was perfect in its ordinariness, and Maya felt herself relaxing in a way she hadn't since the night they met. As the sun set and vendors began packing up, Harrison drove them to a quiet overlook outside the city. They sat on the hood of his car, the city lights spread below them like fallen stars. "This is nice," Maya said softly. "Being with you without worrying, I'll slip up and call you the wrong name." Harrison's hand found hers. "I'm sorry my world is so complicated. The expectations, the scrutiny, it's exhausting." Maya squeezed his fingers. "You don't have to apologize for who you are. But I am sorry I lied. Even if my reasons made sense to me in the moment, you deserved better." He turned to face her. "Tell me about Maya Rodriguez, the real version, not the scared girl at the party." "What do you want to know?" "Everything." So she told him. About growing up in a small apartment with her single mother who worked double shifts so Maya could have art supplies. About the teachers who encouraged her creativity and the ones who said art wasn't a real career. About the scholarship that changed her life and the imposter syndrome that still followed her into every room. About Sophia, her roommate and best friend, who'd rescued her from a terrible living situation freshman year. About her dreams of starting her own design firm someday, even though the idea terrified her. Harrison listened to all of it, really listened, asking questions that showed he cared about the answers. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You're extraordinary," he finally said. Maya laughed. "I'm really not." Harrison shook his head firmly. "You are. You built yourself from nothing, just like my father did. But unlike him, you stayed kind. You didn't let the struggle make you hard." "Now it's your turn," Maya said, eager to shift attention from herself. "Tell me about Harrison Steele when he's not being CEO of the year. What does he do for fun?" "I don't really do fun," Harrison admitted. "Or I didn't. My entire life has been about the company, about living up to my father's legacy. There hasn't been room for much else." "That sounds lonely." "It is," he agreed quietly. "Was," he corrected. "Before you." Maya's breath caught. Harrison turned fully toward her, his expression serious. "I need you to understand something. I'm not good at this, at relationships. I'm controlling and demanding, and I work too much. I'll probably drive you crazy. You're already warning me off? Great start to a relationship, Steele." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I just don't want you to go into this blind. My world is intense, and there will be press eventually. People asking questions, making assumptions." "I can handle it," Maya said with more confidence than she felt. "Can you handle me?" Harrison challenged. Maya leaned in until their noses nearly touched. "I handled you when you thought I was someone else. I can definitely handle you now that you know the truth. In fact, I'd argue I have the advantage." "How do you figure?" "Because you already fell for me once. That means I know exactly how to make it happen again." "Cocky," Harrison murmured, but he was smiling. "Confident," Maya corrected. "There's a difference. Prove it." So she kissed him. And in the kissing, proved that whatever they'd felt in that ballroom, whatever spark had ignited when they first locked eyes, it wasn't dependent on borrowed dresses or mistaken identities. It was simply them, Harrison and Maya, two people who'd found each other in the most chaotic way possible and refused to let go. When they finally pulled apart, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. "Stay tonight." The invitation hung between them, heavy with implication. Maya's heart raced. "Where?" "My place. No expectations, just, I'm not ready for this night to end." "Me neither," Maya whispered. They drove back to the city in comfortable silence, hands linked across the center console. Harrison's building was exactly what Maya expected, all modern luxury and doormen in uniforms. His penthouse apartment was immaculate, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view that must have cost millions by itself. "You know what your place is missing?" Maya asked, wandering through the vast living room. Harrison followed, loosening his collar. "What?" "Personality. It's beautiful, but it looks like a hotel." "Where's your stuff?" "My stuff? Yeah, like photos or weird collections or terrible impulse purchases. Things that make it yours." Harrison glanced around as if seeing the space for the first time. "I never really thought about it. This is just where I sleep." "This is sad," Maya declared. "We're getting you some throw pillows at minimum." "Throw pillows?" "Yes. Fun ones. Maybe with inspirational quotes or cats wearing sunglasses." "Absolutely not." Harrison looked genuinely horrified. Maya grinned. "See? You're already less robotic. Tomorrow we're going shopping." "I don't need shopping. Everyone needs shopping. It's therapeutic." Harrison caught her around the waist, pulling her against him. "Or we could stay in tomorrow and find other therapeutic activities." "Such as?" He lowered his lips to her neck. "I have some ideas." Maya shivered. "Those sound like good ideas." "Excellent ideas," Harrison agreed, kissing just below her ear. "Life-changing ideas." They ended up on his stupidly comfortable couch, limbs tangled, talking about everything and nothing. Harrison told her about the pressure of running a company he'd never wanted, about the father he'd loved but could never please. Maya shared her fear that she'd peak too early, that her best work was already behind her. And in the confessing, they built something more solid than what they'd had at that party. They built trust. Eventually, exhaustion pulled at them. Harrison showed Maya to his guest room, a space nearly as large as her entire apartment. "This feels excessive," she said, standing in the doorway. Harrison lingered in the hall, clearly reluctant to leave. "I could," he hesitated, "if you wanted company. Just to sleep." Maya bit her lip, considering. This was moving fast, but then again, everything between them had been fast from the beginning. "Okay," she finally said. "But actual sleep. I have an early meeting tomorrow." Harrison's smile was soft, genuine. "Actual sleep. I promise." He disappeared and returned in sleep pants and a t-shirt, somehow looking even better in casual clothes. They climbed into the massive bed, and Harrison pulled her against his chest, his warmth enveloping her. "This is nice," Maya murmured, already half asleep. "Yes," Harrison agreed quietly. "This is very nice." Maya drifted off feeling safe and chosen and exactly where she belonged, in the arms of a man who knew her real name and wanted her anyway. The last thing she heard before sleep claimed her was Harrison whispering, "Good night." Maya Rodriguez. And for once, she didn't have to pretend to be anyone else. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a warm weight around her waist. For a confused moment, she couldn't remember where she was. Then the previous night came rushing back, Harrison, the date, falling asleep in his arms, and she smiled into the pillow. "Morning," a rough voice said behind her. Harrison's arm tightened slightly, pulling her closer against his chest. "Morning," Maya mumbled. "You're very warm. You're very beautiful when you sleep," Maya snorted. "I drool and my hair becomes a bird's nest." "That's not beautiful." Harrison pressed a kiss to her bare shoulder, and Maya realized she was wearing one of his t-shirts. She must have changed at some point in the night, though she barely remembered it. "To me it is," he said simply. Before Maya could respond, his phone buzzed insistently on the nightstand. Harrison groaned. "I have to get that. CEO duties." "Go ahead. I should probably head home anyway." His arm didn't release her. "Stay. Have breakfast with me. I make terrible coffee but excellent eggs." "You want me to stay?" Harrison turned her to face him, his hair delightfully mussed from sleep. "Maya, I don't think you understand yet. I want you to stay for breakfast, and lunch, and dinner, and every meal in between. This," he gestured between them, "isn't casual for me." The intensity in his eyes made Maya's breath catch. "It's not casual for me either," she admitted. "Good. Now, eggs?" "Eggs," Maya agreed. They moved through his kitchen with surprising ease, Harrison cooking, while Maya figured out his complicated coffee machine through sheer determination. He was right. His eggs were excellent, and her coffee was apparently acceptable based on the way he downed 2 cups while scrolling through his tablet. "I have meetings all day," he said with obvious reluctance. "But tonight, if you're free." "I'm free," Maya said immediately, then felt embarrassed by her eagerness. Harrison smiled, clearly pleased. "I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something comfortable. More food trucks? Maybe. You'll have to wait and see." That night, Harrison surprised her again by taking her to a pottery class. They sat at wheels side by side, attempting to make bowls under the instruction of a patient teacher who clearly found Harrison's intense focus on the task amusing. "You're attacking that clay like it owes you money," Maya observed, watching Harrison scowl at his lopsided creation. "It's not cooperating. It's clay. It doesn't have opinions." Harrison's bowl collapsed entirely, and he glared at it. "This clay has opinions." Maya laughed so hard she nearly fell off her stool. Her own bowl wasn't much better, lumpy and uneven, but she didn't care. Watching Harrison Steele, master of industry, be defeated by pottery was worth any amount of money. By the end of the class, they'd created 2 truly terrible bowls and were covered in clay slip. The instructor photographed their creations with barely suppressed amusement. "These will be ready for pickup in 2 weeks after firing. I can't wait to drink coffee from a bowl that looks like it was made by a drunk toddler," Maya said as they cleaned up. Harrison pulled her close, not caring that they were both messy. "I had fun." "When's the last time you said that?" Maya challenged. "I don't remember," he admitted. "Before you, probably never." They fell into a rhythm over the following weeks. Harrison would text her good morning before his dawn workout. They'd meet for lunch when his schedule allowed, quick stolen moments in cafes near his office. Evenings were spent at her apartment, or his, cooking together, watching movies, talking until late into the night. Maya met Harrison's world slowly. First his sister Emily, who hugged Maya and whispered, "Thank God, someone normal." Then his executive team at a casual company dinner, where Maya was terrified, but held her own discussing design principles with his marketing director. Finally, there was the charity gala, their first truly public appearance as a couple. Maya wore her own dress this time, a deep burgundy that she'd saved for months to buy. Harrison's eyes when he saw her made every penny worth it. "You're stunning," he said, offering his arm. "Ready to face the sharks?" "As ready as I'll ever be." The gala was both easier and harder than she expected. Easier because Harrison never left her side, his hand a constant presence at her waist or laced through hers. Harder because of the whispers, the stares, the obvious curiosity about who exactly had caught the attention of Harrison Steele. "Who is she?" Maya heard a woman ask behind a champagne flute. "Nobody, really. Some artist he met, can you imagine? She'll last 3 months before she realizes she's out of her depth." Maya's fingers tightened on her glass. Harrison, who'd heard every word, leaned down to whisper, "Ignore them. They said the same things about my mother when she married my father. She proved them all wrong. Did she?" "Absolutely." His smile was fierce with pride. "She ran circles around every society matron in the city. You have that same fire in you." Maya wasn't sure about that, but she lifted her chin and smiled brighter. As the evening progressed, she found herself actually enjoying parts of it. Harrison introduced her to people who were genuinely kind, who asked about her work with real interest. She met other entrepreneurs and artists who'd married into money and offered quiet encouragement. "You'll find your footing," one woman said. "It just takes time. And a thick skin." "The thick skin part I'm working on," Maya admitted. The woman laughed. "Aren't we all?" Later, while Harrison was pulled into a conversation with board members, Maya found herself alone at the bar. That's when a man approached, older, distinguished, with calculating eyes. "You're the new girlfriend," he said without preamble. "Maya Rodriguez," she offered her hand. "And you are?" "Richard Hale. I've known Harrison since he was a boy. I worked with his father." "Ah." Maya's internal alarm bells rang. Harrison had mentioned Hale, his father's old business partner, who'd tried to seize control of the company after the elder Steele's death. "Lovely event," Maya said neutrally. Hale's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'll be frank, Miss Rodriguez. You're out of your league here. These relationships never last. Harrison will tire of playing house with someone so ordinary, and when he does, it will be messy. Better to bow out gracefully now." Maya felt rage bubble up, hot and fierce. She smiled sweetly. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Hale. But I don't plan on going anywhere. And frankly, whether Harrison and I last or not, that's between us. It's certainly not the business of someone who tried to steal his company. Hale's expression hardened. Careful, Miss Rodriguez. You're making enemies. Only of people who deserve it, Maya retorted. Now, if you'll excuse me, I see my boyfriend looking for me. She turned and walked away on shaking legs, finding Harrison scanning the crowd with a slight frown. There you are, he said, his expression clearing. I lost you. Just had an interesting conversation with Richard Hale. Harrison's jaw tightened. What did he say? That I'm ordinary and should leave before you get bored. Maya kept her voice light despite the hurt. Harrison's eyes flashed with fury. He said that to you? He's wrong. Maya touched his arm. I know. I told him as much. But you should know. Your world comes with some incredibly judgmental people. And I'm one of them? Harrison's voice was suddenly uncertain. No, Maya said firmly. You're the one thing in your world that makes sense to me. The one thing I'm sure about. Harrison pulled her close, right there in the middle of the gala, and kissed her thoroughly enough that cameras definitely caught it. When he pulled back, his eyes were blazing. Let them talk. Let them whisper and judge, and make their predictions. Because they don't know you, and they don't know us. And they certainly don't get a vote. Maya blinked back unexpected tears. That was very romantic. I have my moments. Can we leave? I've fulfilled my social obligation, and I'd much rather be alone with you. Best idea I've heard all night. They left the gala early, ignoring the speculative glances that followed them. In the car, Maya leaned against Harrison's shoulder. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For defending me, for not caring what they think, for being exactly who you are. Harrison kissed the top of her head. Always. Back at his place, they changed into comfortable clothes and curled up on his couch. The same couch that now sported colorful throw pillows Maya had insisted on buying. Can I ask you something? Maya said, tracing patterns on his arm. Anything. Are you sure about this? About us? Because if Richard Hale is saying these things, other people are thinking them. You could be with someone who fits better into your world. Harrison was quiet for a moment. Then he tilted her chin up so she met his eyes. When I was 16, my father took me to a museum. There was a painting there, nothing fancy, just a landscape by an unknown artist. But I stood in front of it for an hour because something about it spoke to me. My father couldn't understand. He wanted to look at the famous works, the expensive pieces. But I just wanted to stand in front of that one painting. He paused. You're that painting, Maya. You're the thing I don't want to walk away from, even if everyone else thinks I should be looking at something more impressive. Everyone else is wrong. You make me feel like I can be something other than Harrison Steele, CEO. With you, I'm just me. And that's enough. Maya wiped at her eyes. That's the second most romantic thing you've said tonight. What was the first? The part where you kissed me in front of everyone and told them all to, essentially, fuck off. Harrison laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. I've never been more certain of anything than I am of you, he said seriously. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Promise? Promise. They sealed it with a kiss that deepened quickly, promising more than words ever could. And somewhere in the back of her mind, Maya thought that maybe borrowed dresses and mistaken identities and chaotic beginnings could lead to something real after all. Something worth fighting for. But their happiness, fragile and new, couldn't last forever untested. 2 months into their relationship, the cracks began to show, not in their feelings, but in the reality of merging 2 incompatible worlds. It started with small things. Harrison's work schedule intensifying until days passed where they barely saw each other. Maya's insecurity flaring when she attended events where women with pedigrees and trust funds made subtle digs about her background. Then came the article. Maya's phone exploded one Tuesday morning with messages from friends and unknown numbers. She opened her news app with a sense of dread, and there it was. Harrison Steele's mystery woman, from nobody to arm candy in 3 easy steps. The article was brutal. It detailed her modest background, her student loans, even tracked down her mother for an ambush interview. There were photos comparing Maya's apartment to Harrison's penthouse, her simple wardrobe to his designer suits, insinuations that she was a gold digger who'd somehow tricked him into a relationship. The comments were worse, thousands of strangers weighing in on her worthiness, her appearance, her intentions. Maya sat on her apartment floor, scrolling through them with masochistic determination until Sophia physically took her phone away. "Stop," Sophia commanded. "Those people don't know you." "But they know enough," Maya whispered. "They know I don't fit. That's bullshit, and you know it. Harrison doesn't care about any of this." "Doesn't he?" Maya looked up, eyes red. "Because this affects his reputation, his company. How long before he realizes I'm more trouble than I'm worth?" Sophia knelt beside her. "Maya Rodriguez, you listen to me. That man looks at you like you hung the moon. He's not going anywhere." But Maya's phone rang before she could respond. Harrison's name flashed on the screen. With shaking hands, she answered. "Are you okay?" His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "I just saw the article." "I'm fine. That's a lie. I can hear it in your voice. Where are you?" "Home." "Stay there. I'm coming to you." "Harrison, you have meetings. I saw your schedule." "Fuck the meetings. I'm coming." He arrived 20 minutes later, still in his suit from an early morning board session. He took one look at Maya's face and pulled her into his arms. "This is my fault," he said into her hair. "I should have prepared you better, should have had a PR strategy ready. It's not your fault that people are assholes." "True. But I can control some of this." He pulled back, his hands framing her face. "I'm releasing a statement today, making it clear that you're not some fling, that any attacks on you will be met with legal action." "That'll just make it worse," Maya protested. "The Streisand effect or whatever." "Then what do you want me to do?" Harrison looked desperate. "Tell me how to fix this." "You can't fix it," Maya said sadly. "This is just what happens when worlds collide." "Are you saying," his voice went very quiet, "are you saying you want out?" "No," Maya said quickly. Then more quietly, "I don't know. Maybe I'm in over my head. Maybe everyone's right, and I'm just fooling myself thinking I belong in your life." "Maya," Harrison's voice was firm. "Look at me." She did, finding his dark eyes fierce with emotion. "I don't care what they write or what they say. I don't care if every society matron in the city thinks you're unsuitable. I care about you, about the woman who makes terrible jokes and challenges me and makes me want to be better. Please don't let them take this from us." "But what if it's not enough?" Maya's voice broke. "What if the pressure just keeps building until we hate each other?" "Then we fight harder," Harrison said simply. "We don't give up." Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to think that love, if that's what this was, could overcome everything. But the comments, those thousands of cruel voices, echoed in her head. Over the next week, the attention only intensified. Photographers camped outside Maya's apartment building. Her social media became a battleground. Someone leaked her address, and she started getting hate mail. Through it all, Harrison was a constant presence. He hired security for her building. His lawyers sent cease and desist letters to the worst offenders. He held her when she cried and made her laugh when she wanted to give up. But Maya could see the toll it took on him too. The board was questioning his judgment. Investors were nervous about the negative publicity. His carefully controlled image was fracturing, and it was her fault. We should take a break, Maya said one night, the words escaping before she could stop them. They were at his place, picking at dinner neither of them had appetite for. Harrison went very still. What? Just for a little while, until things calm down. Let the attention die. Let your company stabilize. Then maybe, Harrison stood abruptly, his chair scraping harsh against the floor. You're breaking up with me. It's not breaking up if it's temporary. It's exactly breaking up, and you're doing it because of what other people think. I'm doing it because I love you. The words burst out of Maya, raw and unfiltered. I love you, and I can't watch you lose. Everything because of me. I can't be the reason your company fails, or your reputation is destroyed, or, she was crying now, or you look at me one day and realize they were right, that I was never worth the trouble. Harrison was across the room in 3 strides, pulling her up from her chair and into his arms. Listen to me, he said fiercely. I am hopelessly, completely in love with you. Have been since the night I watched you walk into that ballroom in a borrowed dress and thought my world had just tilted on its axis. You could never be trouble. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. But your company, Maya protested weakly, will survive. His hold tightened. My father built it from nothing. It can weather a scandal, but I can't weather losing you. Please, Maya, don't give up on us because of what strangers think. Don't give up on us when we've barely started. Maya buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady under her cheek. I'm scared, she admitted, that this is too good to be true, that I'm going to wake up and you'll be gone. Then let me prove you wrong, Harrison said. Every day for the rest of our lives if I have to. I'll prove that you belong with me, that we belong together. I love you, Maya Rodriguez. Not Sophia Lynn, not some fantasy I built in my head. But you, the woman who eats cold pizza for breakfast and argues about throw pillows and looks at me like I'm just a man worth loving. I love you too, Maya whispered. So much it terrifies me. Then be terrified with me, Harrison said. We'll figure it out together. Maya pulled back just enough to see his face. Okay. I'm in this. I'm scared and I'm in over my head and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm in this. If you are. Harrison's smile was blinding. I am so in this. He kissed her then, and it tasted like promises and second chances and futures neither of them had dared imagine. When they broke apart, Maya managed a watery laugh. So what? We just ignore everyone and keep dating like normal people? Essentially. Though, Harrison hesitated. There might be one thing that would help. What's that? If you moved in with me, Maya blinked. What? I know it's fast, he said quickly. But you're here most nights anyway. And it would solve your security issues. And selfishly, I sleep better when you're next to me. Also, his expression turned shy. I want more mornings waking up to you. That's, Maya's heart raced. That's a big step, I know. No pressure. But think about it. She thought about her small apartment with its leaky faucet and paper-thin walls. Then she thought about Harrison's place, which she'd helped make into an actual home with art on the walls and plants on the windowsills and those ridiculous throw pillows she'd insisted on. She thought about mornings in his arms and evenings cooking together and building something real. Yes, she said. Harrison's eyebrows rose. Yes. Let's do it. Let's move in together. And terrify both of us equally. Harrison laughed, the sound joyful and free, and picked her up, spinning her around his kitchen. We're doing this. We're really doing this. We're doing this, Maya confirmed, and kissed him to seal the deal. The media would have opinions. The board would have concerns. Society matrons would clutch their pearls. But for once, Maya didn't care. She'd found her place, and it was exactly where she'd least expected it, in the arms of a millionaire who'd mistaken her for someone else and fallen in love with who she really was. 3 months later, they stood in that same kitchen, now officially their kitchen, watching the sunset paint the city gold. Maya leaned against Harrison's chest, his arms wrapped around her waist. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Regret what?" "The night you mistook me for Sophia. Everything that came after." Harrison was quiet for a moment, and Maya's heart clenched. Then he spoke. Not once. Not for a single second. Even with all the chaos and the articles and the judgment. "Especially then," he said firmly. "Because it led me to you. The real you, not some fantasy. And Maya," he turned her in his arms. "What? You were always worth the trouble. You'll always be worth it." Maya smiled, blinking back happy tears. "Even when I buy more throw pillows?" "Even then," he confirmed solemnly, "though I'm putting my foot down at cats wearing sunglasses." "We'll see about that," Maya teased, and kissed him as the sun set on their borrowed beginning and rose on their real forever. What did you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what's your rating? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories, and check out more emotional stories by clicking on the end screen.